How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Papi. Today we're going to be talking another episode of the Anime Love Talk. This will be episode 8. I think I want to start doing things differently with this episode or this series now. I want to start doing it more podcast-like, and I think that's what I'm going to try to go ahead and try doing. I want to make it more podcast-like with more emphasis on what I'm covering instead of just making it look all nice and throwing the guys at your face, because I just think it'd be better to do it more like an hour episode of me talking about a series and then it going well. That's not to say the past episodes haven't done well, but I think ultimately this is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to talk about a series for like about an hour at least, and just upload my own 2 takes on it, and just kind of leave it like that without having to do like little edits to it to make it look nice, because when I do that every week, it just seems like I'm putting a lot of effort into doing something that just isn't getting across, or maybe it's because I'm not promoting it enough or something of the sort. But I thought I would just try it this way for now to see how that goes, and then maybe this will amp me up to do a podcast about other stuff. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm definitely interested in doing another podcasting series, and I might just do it on this channel. And I'm gonna probably test it out with this episode. So let's jump right in. So Anime Love Talk is gonna be more podcasty format from here going on out until further notice. So this episode we're gonna be talking about Inuyasha. I know I talked about saying Angel Beats. I tried rewatching Angel Beats. It's such a good series, but it still doesn't hold up in my opinion. Like I tried watching it, I fell off of it, and I wanted to do a series that I do have a lot to talk about because of its new I would say successor series being Yashahime. I thought Inuyasha would be fun to talk about because I have so much to talk about the Inuyasha series, and I think this is the perfect place to talk about it. Let's just jump right into the content, man. So Inuyasha is a series that I've talked about before on this series, about how we would watch it like on Adult Swim. It would come on, I was like, oh, that's cool, he's a demon, she's a human girl, there's a cool white-haired guy. Like, I think this is a dope series, but there's more to it than just that. And when I started really watching the series, it was pretty evident. So I started watching the series back in my sophomore year of high school. A girl who I was kind of seeing was like, yo, like, you should watch Inuyasha because I really love Inuyasha and I think you'd be the only person to appreciate it. And she was cosplaying and she was doing a lot of stuff that was like, you know what, maybe I should check it out. Like, I like how you look in that uniform. I want to see how this other girl looks in that uniform. Like, I want to see how good it could be. So I started watching Inuyasha, and I don't remember it being so dramatic. I don't remember it being so like formulaic is the better word for it. So I'll go into that right now. So I started watching Inuyasha, and then the first couple episodes were good because I'm like, oh, okay, so I don't really know where the story's going, but I'm having fun along the journey. It isn't until around, sorry about my voice breaking, it isn't until around the second interaction with my favorite character, it's Shishomaru, by the way, that we kind of get a plot, or in a better sense, we kind of get like a end of goal kind of thing. So it turns out that it's not just look for each shard of the Shikon Jewel and different demons. There's a certain demon by the name of Naraku who is purposely trying to collect all the shards, and he's pretty powerful, and he's making waves in the Fudo era, and a lot of people are reporting him, and the crew's kind of looking for him. So this is introduced with Inuyasha fighting Shishomaru using an implanted Shikon Jewel arm, and that fight pretty much stated that, damn, whoever this Naraku guy is, he's playing 5D chess. Like, he's making plays and plays, and it's led to believe like he's like some kind of like ape demon or something, or even like that. We just don't really know his true face. Later down the episodes, we get introduced to more characters like Moroku, and Sango, who have an actual link to Naraku. Moroku being that Naraku is the one who cursed his ancestor to giving him the wind tunnel, to Sango, Naraku's whole setup is being a lord to to perpetuate the massacre of the Demon Slayer clan, only for Kuhaku to be no, Sango was the last one alive. And it's stuff like that really starts tying the show into more of the elements that it's going in, because at first it seemed like it was just a freak of the week kind of monster of the week kind of anime with Shippo, Inuyasha, and Kagome, and then it kind of turns into a more, like we have an end goal that we have to make happen, and we have to stop this Naraku guy because he's kind of fucked over a lot of people we know. And it grows on from that, and it seems like, okay, so this is the gang, this is what we're gonna see, this is gonna be like, this is gonna be the crew. And eventually little things start paying off. We start seeing different people using Shiko and Jewels. We see the husk of Kiki. We find out the husk of Kikyo remembers who Naraku really was, and he was a bandit who was in love with Kikyo. But when Kikyo would talk about Inuyasha and everything, we get the biggest reveals out of everything is that Naraku is to blame literally for everything in the series. Like, Jesus Christ. So not only is Naraku connected to Sango and Moroku, but in a sense he's connected to both Kagome and Inuyasha and Kikyo in that matter, for the fact that he was jealous of Inuyasha. When he was human, Naraku wanted Kikyo's attention. He wanted her for himself. He wanted to love her, and he wanted her to love him. But when he found out that she was gonna go off with, she's in love with Inuyasha and stuff, he decided he needed to be powerful. So a lot of the low-level demons that existed in the cave, Naraku purposely let them feed on him and turn him into this kind of parasite-looking demon, and that really kind of showed us that, damn, so this is what he actually is. He's an amalgamation of small-level demons, and that's what made him so powerful. I think they said like 10,000 or 8,000 different creatures. But yeah, so he purposely takes the form of Inuyasha, and what did he do exactly? I know he set up the whole thing. He set up Kikyo attacking Inuyasha, which led for Inuyasha stealing the Shiko and Jewel, because he was like, well, fuck that, I'm just gonna steal it. Like, he basically he faked being Inuyasha to attack Kikyo, and he stole, just so that way when Inuyasha would, that's what he did. I'm trying to remember now. I haven't seen the series in a long ass time, but that's exactly what he did. He faked being Inuyasha to attack Kikyo. He faked being Kikyo to attack Inuyasha, so that way Inuyasha was like, you know what, fuck that, I'm gonna take the jewel. And Kikyo was like, damn, this man broke my heart, I'm gonna kill him, and sealed him into the tree. Like, in essence, he literally is the reason why Kikyo and Inuyasha broke up. And hearing this kind of reunites the love triangle between both Kikyo, Inuyasha, and Kagome, because now he's like, so you never did do this because you hated me. And she kind of like clarifies, like, Inuyasha can never hate you, I love you, you're like the man I love. So it's just like, ooh, interesting. So you're telling me this man was like the perpetrator for everything. And once we get all these big reveals, we're like, okay, so he's the big bad. We even get the perpetration of Rin's death, and Naraku purely picks fights with the wolf demons, and then of course with the wolf demons being on attack and being influenced by Koga, accidentally kill Rin. Shishomaru is the person who revives Rin and is like, okay, well, I'll keep Rin safe. And Rin has the stigma against wolf demons since they're the ones that killed her. There's a lot of stuff in this series that just is ultimately making me think, like, damn, like, Naraku really is the biggest asshole of this entire series. And that's just the background parts of it. What makes him the biggest bitch this series is how much that every time they fight Naraku, he makes a barrier. And this is where I talk about the formulaic issues with Inuyasha. It's that Naraku makes a barrier. Inuyasha fights the barrier doesn't break. And we're like, oh, well, damn. Okay. So then Inuyasha gains a new power with his sword and breaks the barrier. And then when everybody's about to like jump on him, he's like, oh, gotta go. And it just seems like that formula was what how they kind of played it off for way too long. And before we like go into more about the formula of how things are going, I want to talk about the real ups that I really loved about Inuyasha. One thing I love about is Inuyasha's lineage. So one thing that I really have to give Inuyasha for like the series is the lore that they have behind Hamio and just the dog demon himself, being of course Toga, being Inuyasha and Shishomaru's dad. And not even just that, but the lore of it. So I'm a big Devil May Cry fan. So I love the idea of a father, this all-powerful, like demon king father, being like, I love my son so much, I want to teach them lessons with their swords. And the movie definitely clarifies how much Toga actually really does care about his kids. But like watching just series alone, you're kind of thinking like, well, how much did this guy love his kids? He loved his kids enough to where Shishomaru's sword is known as the Tenseiga, and it's meant to save 1,000 humans. And what it does really is anybody who's close to death or close to like dying or is dying, you can slay the demons of the underworld and you can reclaim their soul, and the person comes back to life. It can't kill anybody, but the Tenseiga can kill 1,000 demons in one blow. And the only way to access that is one, a human has to grab it, and two, like it can only basically work for Inuyasha. But Shishomaru wants a Tenseiga more than anything, and to him that's like his dad cheated him out of power. But going through the series, you realize his dad didn't cheat him out of the power. His dad was trying to teach Shishomaru that you have to grow and you can't just be chasing my shadow. One of these days, you're gonna have to be the leader of the pack, and you have to find the power in yourself. While Inuyasha being only half demon, he won't be able to be ultimately as powerful as Shishomaru with demon power alone. He has to have these tools and these upgrades to make him at that level. So let's talk about the characters in this series, because I'm already kind of going into the lore of it, and we've already talked about some of them. So let's talk about the characters. So let's talk about, of course, Inuyasha being the half demon, son of Toga, and I can't remember his mom's name, but is it Izumi? But yeah, so he's the half demon. He's the son. He's the character who everybody, like, his name's on the show basically. Inuyasha is such a fun character because although he's a lot of years old, he acts just like he's a teenager. He acts like an adolescent teenager. He acts like he's always grumpy. He's always in a mood. He at times is detestable, annoying, but there's so much like a charm and humor to him that goes with the series. And it's really when we see him be struggling between his love life between Kagome and Kikyo, where we really see like Inuyasha is very much more human than demon. The only thing about demon is his teeth and appearance, but when it comes to his emotions, like, that's the most human thing about him. He doesn't know who he should be with, because if it wasn't for his bad break with Kikyo, he would still be with her. And Kagome, this new person who comes into his life, brings this new kind of joy to him. He's like, I appreciate that too, but I can't have both of you. One is literally the reincarnation of the other. Like, if I pick one, does that mean I still want the other one? And I think like a lot of people give him grief in the show and he gets mad, but he's mostly mad about himself that he can't really truly make that big decisions or that big distinction so early on. He has to really think about it. And I think that's what makes his character, for me, the most very appealing, is that there's a lot that Inuyasha holds on to and a lot of stuff that he really does care about. And it's those things that really make me like cherish him as a character. I think one episode is during the bandits or the assassins or what are they called? I don't remember the ten swordsmen or something like that. But he's led to believe that his friends are dying, and Inuyasha truly cries because he loves his friends, and he like cries out for them, and he pleads that they can still come back to life. And there's a scene which is very powerful too, is that Shishomaru fights him and kind of gives him this tough brotherly love of like you hold the Tetsaiga, right? You're my half brother, right? You're the son of Toga, right? Like he kind of, I wouldn't say bullies him, but he gives him tough love and reminds him that if he's supposedly the stronger one, if he's supposedly going to be strong, he's got to be tough. He's got to stop like feeling down for himself. And when he goes back and he realizes his friends are safe, they kind of tease him for caring so much. But at the same time too, he gets mad, but he's relieved. And I think that's what really paints Inuyasha's character a lot beautiful. What makes him so much of a fun character is that he's the tough guy who doesn't want to say that he's happy that he has friends now. He never had friends growing up because he was a half demon. He never got to, like, the only thing he had close to anything in life was Kikyo, and that was her being a love interest. Like, he never had people who, like, other than his mom, that gave him that love and support. And that's why I think his character grows on so much more than it really does. And going back to Kagome, her character's equally as fun to play with, because Kagome is the typical high school girl, goes into another world. Her whole life is isekai at this point, but she kind of likes to bring a lot of outside elements into the new world, or I should say the old world. But her whole shtick is finding Inuyasha and finding this duty and finding this, like, well, my last name is Higurashi, I should, uphold my lineage and be a priestess and, help out everybody and, find this stuff, find the Shikon jewel and, be able to, like, purify it. And her journey kind of doesn't really take off until she kind of starts bonding with Inuyasha. When she starts bonding with Inuyasha, everything makes more sense on why she wants to why she wants to go on this journey. At first, it's just, wow, I'm stuck in another world, I want to get back to my world, to I really care for this asshole and I have a higher responsibility than just get back to my world. I want to keep the world safe. I need to make sure this jewel or everything is purified. Like, I need to do my part in making sure everything is, okay in this world. And Kagome's character, I think her highlight parts are, I would have to say, when she actually starts going home and she starts, because it seems like the show gets very formulaic. Anytime Kikyo comes in the picture and Inuyasha doesn't know who to pick, she just runs home and ponders everything for minutes to come. And it's stuff like that that just makes you, like, kind of like, okay, we get it, Kagome. We don't know how, like, he doesn't get how you feel and you're upset about that. But at the same time too, you're left to, like, really ponder, not just ponder, but you're really to speculate, like, why does she keep doing this? And as much as you're thinking, okay, it's just, her character, she runs away when things get too hard, it can be more explained that she runs away to some place that's familiar to her, to really just get away from the issue at hand, which is he not gonna pick me? And I think, like, that's what the creator really does, is it really gives you that kind of realness to the series of, like, yes, a teenage girl would definitely run away from our problems to go home to ponder, like, does this guy really care for me? Like, is he gonna pick me? And if he doesn't pick me, can I still be with all our friends and be with everybody else and, still do what we do? And that's a bigger question. Can they? And it's one of those things where, like, they're gonna get back together, but at the same time too, you're like, but if you put that in the real world, I can definitely see how, like, hurt and aggravating and even, like, disheartening all that can be. And then of course we jump over to Shippo. And I'm not going to disregard Kagome's character. Kagome she has her moments where you're like, I want her to be happy. I want her to win. I want her to, in a lack for a better sense, get Inuyasha and be with Inuyasha, because it seems like she puts in the most work and she's the one who matches his energy the most. when he gets assholey and horrible, she's the one who's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Like they really just have that chemistry in the show, and I think that's what makes us root for Kagome the most. Not just because we don't like Kikyo, but just because they just have that chemistry where, yeah, like I'm not the like you brought you like basically in a sense it's like Beauty tamed the Beast. Someone finally loved Inuyasha for himself, and she was able to be more outgoing and adventurous because of him. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing is very apparent in the series. And then we jump over to the character Shippo, and Shippo is the sidekick. I wouldn't say he's a secondary character. I wouldn't say he's like there for humor, but he definitely is there for to be the little brother of the group, to be the kid of the group, the sense like the token sidekick. So Shippo is the fox demon, and he's a fox yokai, and his story is pretty sad. It's early on, but we find out that these two demons with the power of the Shiko and Julie, the Thunder Brothers or the Lightning Brothers, ended up killing Shippo's dad, and Shippo's been using his father's body or his pelt, at least, to kind of scare off the other demons away from him. But they're using the demons also took a piece of the pelt, and it's just sad because it seems like Shippo's dad was really powerful. They didn't really dwell on this too much, and I think that's what they missed a big mark with this series is they really could have revisited Shippo's trauma, because he literally saw his dad die before his very eyes. His mom passed away, I believe, like while he was still little, because Shippo's still gonna be little and he'll eventually grow up, but like demons age different, and Shippo's a full demon, so he ages way differently. But yeah, so it's one of those things where I was just like left to think, like, dang, like this character really did go through something traumatic, but they really don't even play on that too much, because even after all of it, like they don't even bring it up. He just really loves having the mother and father figures in his life, which is both Moroku and Sango and Kagome and Inuyasha. Like they play every element of the family. Like he had a father and mother, but he never had like siblings, and this is the first time where he's ever had like siblings. Like these are like his older siblings, and they're always fighting, they're always messing around, they're always goofing off and stuff. And to him, that's always been like that's something like he's always enjoyed. Shippo's character is pretty simple to explain. He's just the sidekick little brother who does what he can, helps them get out of trouble when they can. And, his usefulness is that his shape-shifting powers are better than Inuyasha's. He's just a fun character. He's like the teaser. Like I wouldn't say he's not complex at all, but I would say like they really like could have made Shippo a lot more. They could have made him more complex if they delved into his past and they kind of showed him a reason to get stronger and stuff, and maybe aged him up through the series. But that's just me. Shippo's character really like didn't really. He's a fun character, but he's nothing more like. He's not like a Shishomaru. He's not like a Moroku or a Sango. Like he's just there for fun. Speaking of Moroku and Sango, so let's jump into Moroku. Moroku is probably one of the fun. He's a funny character for two ways. He's played very serious and very lecherous in the sense that all he does is for money, but he's also a big perv. Like he's a contradiction. He's a priest, he's a priest. He's a monk, but he's also a pervy monk. So it just makes me think like, what is this guy's problem? But Moroku's story is one of those like, at first glance, you're like, okay, I get it. He's the pervy monk guy. He's the cheapskate. He's with anything to make a buck kind of dude. And they play him off to that a lot. They really do. But they also play him off as being like, oh, he's gonna marry every girl. He promises every 13-year-old girl that he's gonna marry her, and they always give him money, and he definitely plays his pretty boy looks a lot. But at the same time too, Moroku's whole goal at the end is to defeat Naraku. And he's lived with the curse of the wind tunnel, and the wind tunnel is this, like, you can't even call it a technique. It's a black hole literally in his hand that grows each year, and as it expands, it hurts him. It fucking is, eventually it's gonna devour his whole entire existence. And even if as long as he has it on him, he will die. And as useful it is in a fight, it's gonna kill him. And I think that impending death of like lingering over his head has kind of moved Moroku into the way he goes about life. He's felt cheated all his life. He felt like he's been dealt a bad hand, that he's cursed and he had nothing to do with the curse. But at the same time too, he kind of realizes, because I have a duty to uphold, I have to stop this guy, so one day I can find my happily ever after. Because that's what really plagues Moroku, is that as long as he lives, he doesn't get a happily ever after. As long as Naraku's alive, Moroku can't marry and have kids and enjoy life and to all the extremities, because somebody would inherit his wind tunnel and he would basically curse his kids. And that very knowledge drives Moroku to, I wouldn't say just have fun and be lecherous, because you can have fun and be lecherous and not have to be involved with people in any sense. He doesn't have to be involved with any girl too long, because if he is and he has kids with them, that's it. Like, he'll have fun and grope and party and poops in his face. But if it gets too close to anything else, there's that risk of, if I have too much fun, what if a kid comes of this and that kid is stricken by the wind tunnel? And that's what keeps him, I think that's what keeps him from going far, and that's what keeps him having this kind of party life so much. And that's what kind of keeps him from getting things further with our next character we're going to talk about, that being Sango. So Sango is my favorite girl in the series. Sango's the best character. Sango is a demon slayer. Sango comes from a demon slayer village. She's the daughter of the chief and the older sister of Kohaku. Now, she's pretty prominent in her fighting ability. I think if she wasn't a girl, they would have made her chief by then. But because she's still, I think she's 16, they definitely do, she definitely has a long ways to go. Her brother, being the son of the chief, is the one who's going to be groomed to be chief eventually. So they really focus on him for a bit of her story arc. And it's that Kohaku is a sweet boy. He doesn't want to be a demon slayer. He just wants to be him. But he's scared of fighting demons. He's scared of having to lead the village. He doesn't want to be this person. But his sister reminds him that it's his duty, and so does his dad and everybody else. But she also reminds him that she'll always be there to help him. On their first mission, the way they get integrated with Naraku is they're told by a lord to slay a demon, but the demon ends up being Naraku, and it's a whole thing where they tricked him, and Naraku took over the lord's body, very Orochimaru-like, and everyone dies. It is a horrible thing. Like, Sango's the last left, and that's how she kind of makes her vendetta against Naraku, is that he literally took everything away from her. And when he takes the body of Kohaku and puts a Shikon jewel in it, her brother's life is now in that sense of, he's alive again, but he's being controlled by Naraku, by a jewel. Like, he's literally just a walking corpse with little life left in him. And her relationship with Moroku is kind of the same it's the same for both of them, in the sense that she loves Moroku a lot. Like, they grow from she's just detesting his lecherous ability to her eventually just seeing there's more to Moroku than just his wild side, and he's a lot more caring and loving, and she finds herself falling for him. But at the same time too, she can't just full on fall for him, because she also has a duty to uphold, and that's save her brother and beat Naraku. Of course, that's the whole group's goal, but for her, her brother's safety is her one big thing, and she doesn't want to risk that for her own selfishness of happiness. And you see this and you're like, dang, these two characters are so much alike. They're too afraid to get too close to each other, but they love each other, and they want to say it and go there, but if they do, they don't want to they don't want that to take priority over the goals that they need to make happen. And it does play it more, and it does this. These characters all feed off each other of like wanting to protect each other, but never forgetting why they want to keep fighting. And it's this kind of group oriented goal that just really makes them all such good friends and makes the whole journey so fun. Now, talking about the secondary characters in this series is a lot more easier because the secondary characters have a lot more fun to play with. They don't come out too much, but when they do, they definitely leave a mark. And that being, of course, characters like Kikyo, Shishomaru, and Koga. And there's a lot more other ones, but I think I would mention these three next because they're the most prominent. Then I'm gonna try to mention the villains and his incarnations. But for now, I want to talk about these three characters. So Kikyo being first, she's the predecessor to Kagome. She was Inuyasha's first love, and her character is pretty much just being the antagonist against Kagome's affection. For every moment that she comes out with Inuyasha, she serves as a reminder that yes, Naraku took something away from me. That's my relationship, my connection with this person, and the connection I have with this person now is different. It's a lot less than I would have wanted it to be. It's definitely something that, I wish I could take it back. And for Kikyo, Naraku was just a grave reminder that this is something I could have helped to avoid. People died, people got hurt, and I got hurt, and I died because this man took that away from me. And I feel that on so many different levels. Kikyo's not even human anymore. She's literally just a walking corpse. And as much as she has to feed off of souls and replenish her own soul, like it's this thing of like she's choosing this duty of being a priestess over everything else in life. And as much as there's times where she almost kills Inuyasha just because she's like it's just the best thing for her, but there's this point where she does it in a sense of Inuyasha, if you love me, you'll die for me and wait for me in the afterlife. And it's one of those things like, no, how could you ask that of somebody you love? And the whole back and forth dynamic is really there. Kikyo just constantly is Inuyasha's sin as much as Inuyasha is Kikyo's sin. And it really keeps going with that. It keeps playing with that. Every time Kikyo fights Naraku, it's in the sense of like, I want to get back because you took everything away from me. And I can't stop fighting because if I do, then I failed as a priestess. You were my, like I said, in a sense, patient. You were the person I should have saved. And I can't save you no more. So I have to be the one to take you out. Whether that means I have to keep feeding on people's souls to replenish my own, I'm gonna make sure that I get that job done. It's definitely made clear in the series. Yeah, Kikyo is definitely one of those characters that just, keeps that going. And I wouldn't say I hated her as a character. A lot of people say they do. I just never really felt like she was ever a threat to Kagome, like in that sense. I just thought she just felt bland, she felt mean, and I just didn't like her. But going to another character who is my favorite character, that being Shishomaru. Shishomaru is Inuyasha's older half brother. He's the oldest son of Toga, and he actually is born a full demon because he comes from both of his parents are both dog demons. I would say that like when it comes to Shishomaru, he has probably the biggest character growth in the series, and I think that's why the sequel series focuses on his kids, because Shishomaru starts off as an asshole like his brother, but he's very cold. He doesn't even want to consider Inuyasha a brother. He doesn't even consider him anything. He just keeps calling him a halfling, and how like he hates that their father's blood runs through him too, and he calls him a filthy human. Like it's very apparent that Shishomaru hates everything that Inuyasha is. Not in the sense that he is jealous of Inuyasha, but he just doesn't like the fact that his dad sacrificed his life or did everything for a human just to bear a halfling kid. This all changes for Shishomaru during an outing with with Jockin, and when he comes across a girl and he talks about how that he's enraged by his brother's wielding of the Tetsaiga. Shishomaru feels like he's owed the sword because that's his dad's sword and that's the sword of power. So of course the oldest son should be bequeathed the most powerful sword, but he's bequeathed something that is utterly useless to him, which is to save humans. Shishomaru doesn't feel like he was appreciated as a son in a sense. He feels he's been kind of cheated in like his inheritance, and that's why at the beginning of the show when we see that Inuyasha is the one who is the Tetsaiga, he goes from wanting to take the Tetsaiga from him to just being, fuck it, I'm gonna make my own sword, and I'm gonna find my way to beat him. He joins the hunt for Naraku team because Naraku's the one who tricked them, kind of used them, and he's like, no one uses me, I use them. And then during an outing, he finds a girl who's chewed and all on the verge of death by wolf demons. And when he sees the little girl, he feels sorry for her, and he decides to try out the sword. But the thing is, when he first sees the little girl when she's alive, he notices that she has the same cold, dead eyes that he once had. He sees something in her. He sees something similar to him. So when he cuts the demons that are saving her, or yeah, in the very sense, he cuts the underworld goblins or whatever they are and saves her, she owes him his life. She wants to follow him. And this is where the character growth starts growing for Shishomaru. This little girl that sees him as like a big brother, this father figure, this savior figure in a sense, is everything to her. For a human who was treated like crap by humans, this demon showed kindness to. And to her, that demon is everything that she wants to follow. So she follows him and she wants to serve him constantly. We definitely see this going in a direction, you know what I'm saying? And Shomaru slowly goes from just annoyed of her to being contempt with her to anytime she's even close to danger. It shows how far Shishomaru is willing to go to save her, and nothing beats the scene until nothing is this all hits the counter, especially when Rin is, I wouldn't even say kidnapped, but she's integrated into a village of people, and they're holding her and they're drawing out the demon that is basically taking care of her. And Shishomaru sees how these people are holding her, and he's like, give me back my Rin. You would think it was a little something else, but it's not. It's very harmless at first. So Shishomaru walks through these people, not killing them. He's fighting. He's not killing them. He's just there to take Rin back with him. And he's going through barriers. He's going through spells. He's going through all this pain and everything just because he's like, no, just give me back the girl. She wants to be with me. Let her be with me. And his strength really does show, because eventually he unlocks an ability that allows him to make like black holes with his sword. And then as he grows and grows, there's a lot of brotherly stuff that happens in between. But before I just want to keep talking about the Rin stuff and talk about something else. But yeah, so he really sees something in this girl that gives him the sincerity of humanity. And it's the very thing that his dad wanted to teach him, was that there's something you need to protect in life. And I think they really say this in the movie a lot, like, Shishomaru, do you have someone that you want to protect? And Shishomaru was like, why would I want to protect somebody? I want power. But his dad wanted to show him, like, Shishomaru, do you have someone in this world that you want to make sure never gets hurt? Do you want to make sure that you have someone that never will fall victim or like be hurt in any way? And it's slowly, this little girl slowly showing him why his dad gave him the Tetsaiga. And One of my favorite things, uh, um, the only thing that I really want to talk about that I really care for a lot is that scene with Inuyasha and him where he gives him tough love and reminds him like to to be stronger. And it's one of those things where there's moments in the show where Shishomaru does something and will say, "I did it because I wanted to," but in the very but it's more. It's not just that he does it. But he does it in a way to protect his brother. He does it to protect his brother's friends. Like Shishomaru goes from this cold-hearted demon who hates humans to someone who tolerates them and actually appreciates their value, not just to himself, but to people in his uh you know sorry, I'm reading something here. But like, yeah, he's definitely he's going at this in these kind of ways to keep people safe. He's going through directions to keep humans safe. Well, prior to meeting Rin, he would have let all these people die. But now he's actually really giving a fuck, and it's just something fun to see in a character who doesn't get that much screen time, and just on screen when he's appearing, he's just so fabulous and so like magnificent and just so like cold and fluid. Yeah, it definitely does work a lot, and I enjoy it, and I think it's dope, and I do not hate it whatsoever. And to me, it's his character is just amazing. I think one of the most human moments we ever see from this demon, besides the Rin part, is a scene where one of Naraku's incarnations, known as Kagura, is dying, and she has this moment where she's like, "Oh, like, did you just come? I wanted to see." They've had this back and forth sort of teasing relationship with each other, but she's always anytime she's kidnapped Rin, she's always made sure Rin was safe, and she's always flirted with Shishomaru in a sense of like kind of like Cheshire Cat and Arsenal, where it's very like, you don't like, their relationship is very flirty, but like they're antagonists against each other, they're fighting against each other. And right when her final moments are coming, she says, "I just wanted to see you, but you were probably looking for Naraku." And he admits, "No, I know you're sent. I know who you are." And right when she passes away, she's being held by the person she loves, and there's this little instance where it almost seems like she's like if I had to die, I wouldn't want any other way. And she cries, and it brings this humanly emotion to Shishomaru, where he made it known that, yeah, there was something a part of me that I wanted to keep you safe just as much as I want to keep everybody else safe. And when his brother finally runs into him, is like, "Shishomaru, did Kagura pass in peace?" All he says to him is yes. And it's that kind of like anger that helps fuel Shishomaru why he further wants to kill Naraku, not just for him, not just for Rin, but because the people he's cared about are in danger. He'll never ever say it, but he doesn't need to say it, because for him, his motivation is his motivation alone. You guys can tell Shishomaru is my favorite character because I'm going in depth into him. But yeah, Shishomaru is just ultimately just a great character. I love him so much. He's my favorite character. I don't know any other character that I would like more than Shishomaru in Inuyasha, because he just on screen is just so fun. The last character we're talking about right now is Koga. And Koga, I'm gonna go real fast about Koga because I could care less about him. Yeah, I just want to go real quick into talking about him real quick. But yeah, so Koga is just those characters who I didn't really care for. He plays a rival for Kagome's affection from Inuyasha, and constantly always tells Kagome that he wants to marry her. And there's moments where Kagome will, through the series, tease that she does kind of find Koga charming in this brute wolf demon way. And they kind of have this like big old rivalry with each other, where it's the wolf demon versus the dog, and they're constantly saying like, "Well, you're just a scrawny wolf, or you're just a rotten mutt," which plays on the fact because Inuyasha technically is a mutt. He's half human, half demon. But yeah, a lot of stuff happening. I'm enjoying everything with Koga. He definitely does brings a bit of humor to the series. He's definitely at fault, a decently at fault for what happened to Rin. Yeah, he's definitely at fault for what kind of happened to Rin. He definitely wants to kill Naraku because his connection with Naraku is that Naraku killed a good amount of his friends. Sorry, there was a fly, but he killed a good amount of his friends, and all just for the sake of just using them as like pawns. And that's something that Koga can't ever forgive. And he actually has 2 Shiko and Jewels in his legs, which makes him pretty powerful. He's nothing to like play with, but his whole goal is to track down Naraku and kill him and make him pay for everything that he's done to him and his pack. And those are all the characters that I just wanted to talk about because they're the mostly ones that stay current in the series and they have their own things. The villain wise, Naraku and his incarnations, but he always makes a new incarnations for everything, and they don't really stay long enough to make a difference. I would say the only one that does is Kagura and Kana, and I think a couple other ones. But yeah, Naraku's incarnations are just his kind of way of. The way I best would describe Naraku is this Orochimaru-like villain, except he's more insectoid villain. He's a very bug-like villain, monster demon. His whole thing is reincarnation, like incarnation, not reincarnation. He wants to make more of himself, kind of like a hive mind. But the thing when he does is that each of his incarnations do have a sense of they're very much like him. They're prideful. They want to destroy the others. They want to be the most powerful. And I think that's what makes Naraku's kind of like anti-family to like everybody's like group up family so adversary is that these are he keeps making characters that are just like himself that will do anything to kill the predecessor to keep succeeding. It's very bug mentality of just grow, but because he can't control them all too much, only by threatening to kill them with their hearts and stuff, it shows that Naraku is very much like a hive mind kind of insectoid. Like he wants to make more of himself. He wants to make more creatures, more evil like bugs. And he also was a half demon. That's something that when I rewatched it, I was like, oh my god, he's a half demon too. But the thing is that he gets to choose when he turns human, which kind of feels broken. But yeah, I definitely think Naraku is a fun villain. The only thing about him, like I said before, is that anytime he's close to being beaten, he dips away. One thing I do like to do reference is that anytime that he does come out, the one person he's always afraid of when his barrier shuts down is Shishomaru. Because Shishomaru seems like it's the one character that always by himself without any weapons could kill him. So he was like, oh shit, Shishomaru, my barrier's down, I better dip. But that's for the whole series feels like is for the longest time it felt Naraku gets cornered by the group and the others such as Koga and Shishomaru. He has a barrier up, and Inuyasha gets a new power, and before he leaves, he makes an incarnation to battle the team. And that's what it seems like he does every other fight. Is like anytime he's about to lose, he makes an incarnation. After he makes an incarnation, he puts a barrier on them. Every time they break the barrier, they kill the incarnation, and Inuyasha's sword levels up. Now, going back to the relationship between the two, because this makes sense in the end, at the final act. Shishomaru's sword, his Tenseiga, eventually gains the power to make black holes. And eventually he starts using it for offense. And it's the Hamio, I believe it's called, not the Hamio, it's called something else. But it's definitely used, and it's definitely worth the fight, because it's definitely a powerful thing. I mean, he's making black holes, for God's sakes. And it's so awesome to see how well this picked out for Toga, because Toga set everything up that eventually Shishomaru's sword would learn how to make black holes, but he would have to fight one of his old adversaries who he stole that ability from to get the ultimate black hole ability, only to figure out that the only reason why he has that black hole ability is so he could give that power to his little brother. Like, it's such an interesting concept. Like Toga literally sets Shishomaru up to have to get this powerful ability, this godlike ability, only to make him have to pass it down to his little brother. Like, he sets it up in that regard, and it really does make you think, wow, this man really wanted his sons to get along. Because at the end, when Shishomaru realizes, yeah, my sword's ability is to merge with my brother's sword, so I'm gonna have to learn that I have to abandon my keepsake for my father and use my own power to put up a fight. And during the final act, when he realizes that, that's probably one of the most character growth moments ever. I mean, for God's sakes, his character growth is so huge that he makes a sword out of his own energy, not his fang, not anything else. It's just his energy alone crafts that sword, and it makes the Baku Saiga. The Baku Saiga is literally just the crowning achievement, like the sword of like self-confidence from Scott Pilgrim when he makes a sword out of his literally out of his character growth. That's really what the Baku Saiga is. It's Shishomaru realizing, I cannot rely on my dad's power, my dad's shadow. I need to start being me. And he does, and he makes a powerful blade. And I'm sorry, I keep reading these messages, but it would make sense. It makes so much sense that until he had to abandon this concept of trying to be like my father, that he eventually makes a sword just like himself, or he makes his own sword out of nothing but his own character growth. But the Baku Saiga is probably one of the strongest abilities ever, because it just tears down through Naraku's incarnations. Even his most powerful ones are just getting slain to bits. And now Inuyasha gets a power boost up that he gets probably the strongest his sword ever gets, mixing with the Tenseiga, making this ultimate ability that not only has the ability to probably slay goblins of the underworld and save 1,000 humans, but it also has the ability to shoot black holes with the wind scar. That's fucking broken already. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that in the series that are fun, that are so cool, like that they definitely pay off at the end. Toga's whole make my sons like each other, play with each other, share their toys plan definitely was probably my favorite thing out of the entire series, honestly. And that's out of everything, out of the pairings, out of who ends up with who. Like, I just like the fact that this guy was like, you know what, I just really want my kids to appreciate each other and see each other's brothers, and like learn that they need each other in their lives. And it definitely does get to that. And it's not in the end of the series too is pretty satisfactory, and I'm going to talk about that right now. The end of the series with the end of the series is just Kagome making the ultimate wish on the Shikon Jewel, which is, hey, I wish that the Shikon Jewel never existed. And it's the one correct wish, which is funny because you're like, wait, why is that the correct wish? Why is that the correct way to wish? But I guess it is. They wish that it never existed, and because it never existed, and Naraku ends up bonding with the jewel, that means Naraku never exists. So then, bam, shebang, it is done. Naraku's dead. Everything goes back to normal. Kagome goes home, and then she ponders, what do I do? Do I want to spend my years with do I want to spend my years with the man I love, or do I want to grow in this society and just live out here? And she picks Inuyasha, and I think it's such a sweet ending because she goes in and she decides, you know what, I'm gonna live with Inuyasha. We get a little time skip, and we find out that Moroku and Sango get married. They have their kids. Shishomaru he decides to leave Rin at a village so she can comfortable with humans, and he goes to his own thing, and everyone is saved. Kohaku comes back. They're able to save Kohaku's life. Like, there's little things like this that just everything pays off. Everybody's characters are just already, like, their whole character story, the character arcs are all like left on satisfactory terms, and we're left with thinking, dang, like, this is a perfect way to end the series. And then we get the sequel series, Yashahime, but I think I'll talk about Yashahime next week. It's still ongoing, but I think it'd be fun to talk about it for like a podcast. But yeah, Inuyasha has just been one of those fun series that, like, you watch it and you haven't seen it for so long, and it's good. It's solid. It's a fun rewatch. But when you keep going through it again and again, you notice the downfalls, you see the patterns, and you're kind of like, I've seen this 1,000 times. Like, why do I need to see them get close to killing him only to fail and have to, level up again and again just to fail again? And it kind of takes you out of the series for a bit. I know for a fact there's many times where I was like, dude, I don't want to see Inuyasha get almost strong and then that power be useless until he gets a new power. Like, I feel like I've been seeing that way too many times. And we see it a lot, at least 4 times, I would say. And that's the span of like 160 episodes or 140 episodes, I think. But yeah, eventually there's a time where I was just like, I'm done with the series. But I definitely did stick it out to kind of get to the end. And I'm not disappointed at it whatsoever. Everybody's character arcs wrap up. Even Kikyo's, even Koga's. Koga's. And I think everything just is Inuyasha just has that series where it's just like, it had to end. Everybody had a happy ending. The ending was the land of the plane perfectly. I couldn't have been any happier. The sequel series is left to be desired, but we'll get to that next week. But yeah, Inuyasha's a solid, I would say it's a good series. Out of good, great, and legendary, I put it at good. It's fine. It gets a little repetitive, but it's still a series I do hold dear. It's a series I can always enjoy whenever I put it on and I'm like, okay, let's rewatch it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And that's a cool thing. That's awesome. I love that little like tidbit. I love how they eventually pay that off. But yeah, it's definitely a character-driven show, and I think that's why I love it so much. It's because it's so heavily character-driven, and the characters are all like, their stories are all like wrapped up at the end, and I'm kind of happy how everything ends. But yeah, this is gonna be it for the Anime Love Talk. I hope you guys really did enjoy this episode. This is something different. If you guys like it, let me know. If you guys don't, well, I'll try to change it up a bit and maybe do something else. But yeah, this is your boy Papi Wolf saying peace out, y'all, and have a great day and happy Valentine's Day.